Hey, just wanted to welcome you to the GPT-2 installation guide. So in 2021, the original version of GPT-2, which was published by OpenAI, has become sort of outdated, and it can be very difficult for people to install on their computers, especially if you're kind of new to machine learning and just Python and version control in general. When I first got into this, it took me a couple of months to figure out how to get this to work the way that I wanted it to. And I figured since I was looking and I needed some help, perhaps this could be helpful for others who are also looking at getting this set up. And a lot of other videos out there that I've seen, they go over how to use GPT-2 once it's installed, but they sort of gloss over the whole installation part. So it makes it even trickier, especially if you're running into errors, especially with this guy right here. Getting TensorFlow version 1.12.0 to work, and I've found a few workarounds. So just to get started, I want to introduce you all to Anaconda Navigator. Anaconda is a great tool for machine learning in Python. If you haven't heard of it before, go to their website, download the Navigator, create an account, and read into it a little bit, learn a bit about how it works. Once you are ready, though, you do have it installed on your computer and you're signed in. You can go ahead and follow along with the rest of this video, and I'll be showing you how to create the environment and get everything set up. So first thing, we're just going to come over to Environments. Now, I tested this out a little while ago just to make sure that everything was still working, just to prepare for this video. But we're going to go ahead and create a new environment rather than use the one I already did. So just come down to Create, and then I'm going to name this OpenAI. And then I'm going to select Python 3.6. Now, this is super important. If you don't have 3.6 in your environment, it's not going to work. I've tried it in so many different ways, and somewhere you're going to try something, and if it's not 3.6, it's going to break. 3.7 sometimes works, but I did run into issues, so that's why I just flat out always use 3.6, and go ahead and just create the environment. Now, it does take Anaconda a moment to load the environment. Once that is ready to go, you can actually launch a terminal straight from here. So you hit the play button and then just open the terminal. I'm going to bring that over so we can all see it. Now this guy is set up in the environment, so if we do Python -- version, it's going to show us that we're running Python 3.6.13. If I bring up another one of my, let's just use PowerShell. I don't like PowerShell, but it's just here, it's ready to go. If I were to do the same thing, so Python -- version, you can see that my computer is running 3.9.5, while this environment is running 3.6.13. So there's just a quick example of how to get around that issue. Now we're going to go ahead and clone a repository from GitHub and install the dependencies. So I'm just going to go to my desktop real quick. And since I am on Windows, I do want to install the Linux commands. I normally work on Windows and with the Linux subsystem for Windows. So for me, it's just a little bit easier if I keep it consistent. That way, it's like, don't get too confused. And I know a lot of you are probably familiar with the Linux command line in those commands. So now that I have that installed, I'm going to go to my desktop, and then I'm just going to make a folder, and I'm going to name this GPT-2, and I'm going to enter that folder so that way I'm in a location, I know where everything's installed, and that's going to help me a little bit later on as I show you guys how to create custom models for GPT-2, which is another cool feature that you can do with the specific branch we're going to download. So in order for us to clone a repository, we need to install git to Anaconda. So that's conda install -c anaconda git. Now this is going to give us everything we need for GitHub. and I'm going to clone a repository. So I have it just copied here. I will leave a comment down below that'll have that exact link or URL, just so that way you can copy that. And now that I'm in everything, I'll just show you. I'm in the GPT-2 folder, which is sort of the root directory of everything. And this is where I'm going to run all of the commands. Instead of navigating into this SRC folder or any of the other folders, I'm going to run everything from the root. And that's going to fix another few problems I ran into. Just because when we download the model and have all these different folders, if you're not in that root folder, it's going to cause some issues, and it's going to throw an error and be like, oh, this folder or this file wasn't found. So it just prevents all of that just down the line. So let's go ahead and install the most important package. So pip install TensorFlow. If you're familiar with the documentation, it initially wants you to do 1.12.0. I have found that 1.14.0 is actually better, and it remains compatible today. 1.12.0 has even become more outdated, and it doesn't work with all of the files if you begin training your own models and using those data sets to generate text. So go ahead and just do 1.14.0, and if you run into an error here and it says that it's not found or it's unable to download correctly, that just means that your environment isn't set up correctly. Again, Python -- version is going to show you which version you're running. As long as it's 3.6, you're going to be good. If it's not 3.6, create a new environment, give that a try again. Since that did work for us, we're going to install all of the other dependencies. So they just have the requirements.txt file. So we're going to do pip install -r requirements.txt, and it's going to install everything else we need and the specific versions. Super simple. And the final step in order to get everything downloaded is to get our model. So we're just going to do Python download _model.py, and we want the 124 million. So just do 124 capital M, hit enter, and it's going to start downloading. Now, this does take a little bit of time. It really depends on sort of your internet connection. If your internet's a little bit better, it's going to download a little bit faster. And then also your computer. I've just had different experiences running it on different machines, so don't be too surprised if it takes a little bit of time to download this specific model. And if you download one of the larger models, it's just going to take a little bit more time. So I'm going to go ahead and just pause the video, and I'll resume once it's finished downloading. Perfect. That just took a couple of minutes to download. If that is finished for you, everything up to this point has been successful. We're going to go ahead and just run a quick sample. I just always like to make sure that it is working before I do anything further. That way, if there is an error, I can correct it. So we're going to go ahead and just run the interactive samples. So just run Python, and then this is located in the source folder. So src/interactive and _ conditional _ samples.py, and then do --top _k 40, and then hit enter. I'm not going to get into the top K40 or the temperature or any of the other parameters that you can set. However, I'm going to be doing a follow-up video that teaches you how to create your own custom model, and then I will get into a little bit more about what that does in that video. So if that's something you're interested to, go ahead and just watch the next video. It'll get into that. So now you see that the model prompt is working. Just to save me some time, I'm just going to exit out of it. There's really no need for me to run a test. As long as that's working, GPT-2 has been installed successfully, And it's really as simple as that. Hopefully you found this helpful. If, like me, you also had a tough time figuring out how to get this installed, this is just a real easy way to do it. And I just wanted to finish by showing you one more kind of cool thing that you can do. So I'm going to back up into my other folder, the one I created on my desktop, and I'm actually going to create a Python virtual environment, which will let me access everything that we just did outside of Anaconda. So if I'm running any other terminal, I can access it just by activating the virtual environment rather than having to open Anaconda every time. So that's just a simple command, python-m-v-e-n-v-e-n-v. That creates the virtual environment. Now, it's not going to be able to, you're not going to be able to activate that in Anaconda, but if you're, like I said, if you're outside of Anaconda, you can access that virtual environment and then use that to run GPT-2. Again, hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'll do my best to answer. And stay tuned for the next video where I go over how to train your own model for GPT-2.